Here we are on the front of our Keystone Bullet 2530 RD. We're going to be doing a technical walkthrough on our unit, going through some of our components on here, a little bit of operation, tips and tricks, and so on. Now your unit may differ as far as the brand name or appliance that's on here. If you want more information on that appliance or a deeper dive on these, you can find that in our Haps Helpful Hacks section on the YouTube playlist for Great American RV. We'll start in the front. We have our 12-volt power jack right here. We follow that line down there. You're going to see a blade fuse in line. For that system, we can check that blade fuse in the event that this isn't working, or we can check our battery voltage to make sure that is working, that we do have battery voltage as well. Jack will operate up and down with that switch, as well as you have your 12-volt light on there too. We have a black cap here on the top. In the event our jack isn't working, we can't figure it out, we remove that cap, we insert our crank handle, and we can manually operate that jack up and down. Next on the list is our 7-way plug here in the front. Our 7-way plug is going to plug in, of course, to our towing vehicle. That'll transfer all of our blinkers, running lights, brake lights, so on, onto our trailer. Now it's also going to have a battery charge line that'll pull off the alternator of your vehicle, help charging that battery while you're traveling down the road for the trailer. Lastly, you're going to have your brake controller in the vehicle. That's going to have a line that runs through here as well to be able to activate the brakes whenever you're stopping. Next thing is our breakaway switch. Our breakaway switch has this silver cable hooked to it with the little loop on the end, and you get a lanyard. Hook this to where you would hook your safety chains on that receiver hitch. You don't want to hook it to where you're connecting the ball or anything. The intent is if any of that fails, that this cord stay with the truck and it pulls the pin out of that box, activating the brakes on our trailer. If we don't have a good 12-volt power on that trailer, meaning a good 12-volt battery, these brakes aren't going to activate. So that trailer is just going to fly down. The intention is for it to bring it to a safe stop if something fails. Now, we also need to make sure that that pin in that box is inserted all the way on there. We leave it in there, don't mess with it. If it's not inserted, it will be activating those brakes. Behind that is our dual propane tanks under this cover. Our dual propane tanks are operated by a propane regulator. A regulator does have a selector switch where we can choose whatever tank we want to be our primary, and you're going to have a detector on there that's going to either be red or green, meaning that tank is empty or full. Now that primary tank is the tank that propane system is going to feed off of based on which selector switch you have that tank going to. It's going to pull off of that tank until it runs empty. Your indicator is going to turn red, but if your other tank has an LP in it, it'll start pulling from it, and of course until it runs dry. If you notice that that system has swapped over to the other tank, move your selector switch over and you can get that other tank refilled. Now behind that we have our battery storage tray, and we also have our battery disconnect. That battery disconnect is for when we are storing our unit. We're storing our unit unplugged. We want to turn that disconnect off. Essentially, it is disconnecting the battery system, and it will save the voltage for whenever you need it later on. It won't drain those batteries down. You will have a small static drain on there, so just keep that in mind if you leave it for a long period of time, but this will help cut out most of the power being pulled from that battery system. When we are plugged in, we want that battery disconnect on. If we don't have it on, it's not going to charge your battery system. On the driver's side front compartment, we are going to have our inverter prep up there, meaning we are pre-wired for that inverter system. An inverter would change your 12-volt power to 110 power if you're dry camping or anything, to be able to utilize those 110 components. You're also pre-wired for that solar system. We have that smart solar controller in here as well that will transfer that solar power energy into charging power for that 12-volt battery. Next to that, we're going to have that RV solar panel disconnect. If we ever want to shut down that solar system, we would turn that off. This is completely separate from that battery disconnect in the front. If we are storing our unit out in the sun, we want to utilize that solar system, we want that disconnect on. Right here, we can turn the battery disconnect in the front off and it will still charge our system. Last thing we have in there is our Lippert tire link that is pre-wired. So we have power going to that system. We would just purchase the monitor and the sensors for the tires to be able to monitor our tire pressure while we're traveling down the road. In here we have our control center for all our water hookups. We'll go over that now. So here we have our control center in that front compartment. Up top you'll see our key TV system. This system is where we'll hook up our park cable if they have one, or our external satellite system right here. We'll look on the inside where these things go and how it operates. This power light right here indicates that we do have 12-volt power to that key TV system, so it is operating and doing what it needs to do. Down below that, we do have our outdoor water faucet or shower hookup. We have a quick connect right here. We put that male fitting in and we can lock it in. We have hot and cold water. We can put a shower head faucet on here or a sprayer, and we'll have that outside water. To disconnect, push that ring in and it pops right out. To our right here, we have our extend and retract. This is for our stabilizer jacks, LCI stabilizer jacks. These are not intended to level your unit. They're only to stabilize your unit. If we want to level our unit, we'll use the stacker blocks that you can purchase, and we want to put them under our tires and level our unit from left to right, depending on the slope of the pad that we are putting our camper on. Once we have that leveled out left to right, we'll use our tongue jack to level our unit from front to back. Once your unit is level, you'll come to these stabilizer jacks, you'll run your jacks down, and you want to touch the ground and a little bit more after that. You don't want to put a ton of weight on it because it will cripple those jacks and make them bend and break, and warranty does not cover that type of damage. This switch below that operates our underglow lights right near our stabilizer jacks. We can see outside under there that will operate that. And here we have our satellite prep. If we have a satellite dish installed on our roof, this can come from there and hook up to our satellite right here on our key TV system. Here we have our freshwater tank connection. We'll take our water hose and we can put it in there and fill our fresh tank. We can monitor the level of that by our meter on the inside, we'll touch on later. This is for if we are dry camping. We don't have a city water connection to hook to, so we'll pull from our fresh tank by initiating our 12-volt water pump. Now we can drain this tank out. That's going to be that blue line that's just under our unit we'll look at in a little while. And we want to drain it out when we're not using that water. We don't need it. Number one, it saves weight on our unit when we're traveling. And number two, that water is going to get stagnant after a while. So we don't want to leave it in there if we don't need it. To the right here, we have our city water connection. This is if we do have a water hose hookup at the campground or wherever we're staying, we hook the water line up to here, and that will give us water pressure to all of our fixtures. Below that, we have our winterization valve. This valve is only going to be used when we are winterizing our unit, and we'll turn to there, to that on position, and we'll use this knob right here to pump antifreeze into our system. More information on winterization is available in your owner's manual or one of our videos in the helpful hacks section. Down at the bottom, we have our black tank flush. Just know right now this is where that's located. We'll go over the operation of that black tank flush when we hit our sewage valve in the rear. You also have a cap down here at the bottom that you can pull off, and that is where your lines will come in order to run all of your water and cable and everything else. Here we have our Girard tankless water heater system. It's going to work generally just like the one that you may have in your house. Endless hot water as long as you're running it. The operation for that will be on the inside on that keypad. We'll go over that in a little while. This is a propane operated device. That fresh tank that we talked about filling, you'll see that blue line right there. That blue line is to be able to drain that tank out whenever we're not using it so the water doesn't become stagnant. Moving down just in front of our slide out, we have our connection for our sewer system. We have two gray tanks and a black tank on this unit. We can see under here we have our valves to be able to open and close those. And of course we have that connection where we'll hook it up to our sewer port. Now, as long as we have a sewer port, we can go ahead and leave the gray tanks open all the time. Gray tanks are going to be our sink and shower water. We can just let those drain out. Our black tank, however, is going to be from our toilet, which means we have sewage in there. That valve needs to be closed until we're ready to dump. Otherwise, we're going to have all the water drain out of there, and those solids that are in there are going to solidify, cause you a lot of issues. So make sure we're leaving that closed till we're ready to dump. When we are ready to dump, we open that valve, let it drain out. We're going to go to that black tank flush. We're going to hook up to that, and then we are going to allow that sprayer nozzle in that black tank, push the debris down to this valve and drain out. Now, if you want to go a step further, of course, manufacturers aren't going to recommend this because you can overflow your tank. So here's your warning now. If you go ahead and have that black tank flush running, close that black tank valve for just a little bit, let a few gallons of water build up in there, and then open it up, drain it out. It'll help wash a little bit more of that debris in there, but you have to be mindful of how much water you're putting in so you don't overflow that black tank system and cause a major mess on the interior of the unit. Whenever you are done flushing out your system, shut off that black tank flush, close your black tank valve, go to the interior, and hold down the toilet pedal on your toilet and allow several gallons of water to go into that tank, and then add your chemicals just to make sure we have good clean water in that system so your chemicals can do their job and help clean in that tank. Our slide out is cable driven. We can tell by the cables on the side of it. Want more information on how to override that in the event something goes wrong? We can find that in our helpful hack section on the YouTube playlist. On the rear of our unit, we do have storage for our sewer hose that we can open up and put right there. Have a little small receiver hitch on the back if we want to add a carriage or anything like that, we can do that. And of course we have our 50 amp shore power cord. 50 amp shore power cord, we insert it in, turn it to the right to lock it in. We have that retainer ring we want to put on there so we can make sure that cord doesn't fall out, doesn't have any gaps for electrical arcing or anything. And then at which point we can plug into our shore power. We want to of course make sure that our AC systems are off anytime we plug or unplug our unit so we don't have any surges in that compressor. Next thing on the back is our ladder system to be able to gain access to our roof. We need to check our roof and maintain it. We need to check it after trips, make sure we don't have any holes poked in it from tree limbs, anything like that. And we need to wash our roof every couple months. Every 60 to 90 days, we need to check the sealant around all of our vents on our roof to make sure nothing's peeling, decaying, cracking, allowing water entry into our unit. We also need to check all our sealants on our trims, our windows, anything like that, to make sure we're not allowing any water to enter our unit. Manufacturers require all of this every 60 to 90 days. They're not going to participate in any water entry into the unit unless we're maintaining it properly. So make sure we're staying on top of that so our unit will last for years to come. Lastly, we have our Keystone camera ready system, meaning we have power already back here for a backup camera. We need to go ahead and purchase that camera and have it installed so we can see behind us while we're traveling down the road or when we're backing up. All right, passenger side, we have our front storage compartment access right here just inside on the wall there. We have two switches. That is for our electric stabilizer jacks here in the front and the rear. Now the way we want to use those is they are stabilizers only, not leveling systems, so we don't want to use it to try to level out our unit. They are not weight bearing for this kind of weight. They're to put on the ground and stabilize your unit, add a little bit of weight to them. We level our unit by using stacker blocks. We can purchase at any one of our camping stores, stack them up, level our unit from left to right as we're backing up. We put them under our tires and then use our ton jack to level it from front to back. Then we put our stabilizers down. If you put too much weight on them, bend them, break them, strip the motor out, anything like that, manufacturers aren't going to cover that kind of damage because that's not how we're supposed to use them. Now, once again, they are 12 volt operated. If you run into an issue with them, want to disconnect those 12 volts, there's an override on the other side where we stick a jack handle into, and we can manually crank those jacks up or down to get us out of a jam. Here above our tires, we have our Key TV system with that antenna satellite. We talked about that Key TV. There's no antenna booster on here. We can plug those cables into our antenna cable and scan for channels on that TV. We also have that 110 GFCI protected outlet right there, as well as our mount for our TV. Now behind me, we'll see the exhaust for that gas-powered furnace. We'll go over the information on that when we hit our thermostat. At your entry door, you are going to feel some resistance when you open and close it. This is to keep the wind from blowing and slamming it shut or open. Those are friction controlled hinges on there, so just be mindful of that. We're also going to have our steps right here, our solid steps, to go ahead and store them. We'll lift them up, make sure our entry door is all the way open so those brackets don't catch the frame, tear up our screen or anything. Put it up there, make sure our blue latch is latched on that frame, and when we want to pull it out, pull that blue lever right there, pull it out, and drop it down. Now we need to make sure that our steps are level. After we've leveled our unit out from left to right and front to back, we then need to come over to our steps, adjust our legs by having them down. You'll push in this silver lever right here, and you can extend or retract those legs to wherever you need them in order to make those steps nice and level for entry. We also need to make sure we do this so our entry door does not hit the frame of our steps right here, causing any damage. This also helps to make sure that our threshold is nice and level so our door will lock in and seal properly while we're camping. Of course, you do have your 12 volt powered awning up here. That 12 volt powered awning is controlled by a switch on the inside as well as your lights. Our awning is mainly a sunshade. We can take a little bit of light rain, dew. You're gonna have AC runoff. You're gonna have water basically build up on this awning a little bit. We need to always make sure that we pitch our awning either to the front or the back. Do that by grabbing this awning arm and just pulling it down, and that water can run off of there. If we don't do that, water is gonna pool up on that awning and it will fall, collapse, and cause damage as well as a safety risk for anybody under it. So make sure we're pitching it, and if it's heavy rain or anything like that, we want to roll that awning in because it's not going to be able to keep up with that. It will get torn up, and also any high winds, we want to roll that awning in as well. This will be an insurance claim if any of the type of damage like that happens, because manufacturers aren't going to participate in that type of repair. When we're ready to roll our awning in, we go ahead and pitch it straight back up just by pushing that arm up, then we can go ahead and roll it in. All right, so right when we walk in our entry door, we have our control center. This is a generic panel, so your tanks may differ as far as how many is up here. It's going to have two black, 2 gray up on this panel, but your unit may only have one of each. So when we push that button, we can see those lights there on the side are going to go ahead and light up according to what the level is for our fresh and black tanks and our battery system. So that's how we monitor the level of all those items. Here we have our 12-volt water pump that's going to pull from that fresh tank system. If our tank is empty, we want to turn that off, or if we're hooked to city water, we want to turn that off. When we're using it, we can just leave it on all the time, and it is an on-demand system. That water is only going to kick on, that pump is only going to kick on when water is in use. We have our porch lights and our ceiling light, of course, right there, and our slide out in and out, as well as our awning in and out. These are all 12-volt operated components. If we have any issues, we want to check that 12-volt fuse panel. That we'll show you a little bit later. All right, in our kitchen area, of course, we have our microwave, and we have our vent fan and light right here. That vent fan, remember, we need to open that vent outside to make sure we are able to exhaust out. When we store it, we close it up. We have our glass top right here. It gives us more counter space. So it also needs to be in this position when we're traveling. And when we want to use it, we go ahead and flip it up. We have our 3 burners right there. We have our knobs down here at the bottom. We have a light we can kick on to the bottom. It'll light up our oven and our knobs here at the top. We click it just to the top. It'll do just our knobs. Or you can have it off. So when we go to use it, we'll click what burner we want to use. We'll turn it to that flame icon right there. We'll notice that ring is going to light red. That lets us know that gas is being emitted to our system. Little safety feature there lets you know that it is on. So we want to go ahead and light our stovetop, turn it to that flame, and then we're going to hit our manual ignite till that burner lights right there and use it, and we're good to go. Now, one thing that's important about our gas system is that there can be air in the lines. If we pull our unit out of storage, we have those propane tanks off, or if we just change our tanks out, we could have air in that system. And once we pull it out of storage, we're ready to go camping, turn those tanks on, come over to your stovetop and ignite it. Let that burner run for about 30 to 60 seconds. It may be a little delayed in lighting. It's because it's pushing the air out of that system. Once it finally lights, go ahead and let it burn and get the air out. I would do this before operating things like my water heater or furnace. That way it reduces opportunity for those to go into faults because there is air in the system. Now, in order to use our oven down here at the bottom, we're going to use our knob down here all the way to the right. We're going to turn it to the flame, and we're going to hold this button down while we ignite that oven. Once that burner ignites down there, that pilot, then we hold that button down for about 30 to 60 seconds. We're heating up the thermocouple, and when it's done, we're going to pull off of that knob and turn it to the desired temp, and that burner tube will go ahead and light up. If the burner tube doesn't light up, that thermocouple isn't hot enough yet, just go back, start from square one, and do it over again. Now here we have our Furrion thermostat with our AC and heat control on there. We'll go over the option for that, and we'll also touch on our GFCI. Now here on the wall, we have our Furrion AC system. That'll control our cool and heat options. We'll go over that right now. We'll start with our cool option first. Our cool will cool the air throughout our unit. We, of course, set our thermostat to whatever point we want it to be, and we have our fan speed options. We have low and high. For low and high, that fan will run all the time. Now, whenever we want that fan to cut off, whenever the compressor cuts off, much like we likely do at home, we have it on auto. That system will shut off and on with the compressor. Our next mode is our heat mode. Our heat mode activates our gas-powered furnace on our unit. We choose our set point, and our heater will come on whenever necessary. There is fan speeds on here, but it does not change the fan speed on that furnace. It is a single fan speed on there controlled by the furnace board. Our next mode is our fan mode. Our fan mode simply circulates air throughout our unit without cooling it or anything. This will come out of our rooftop air, and we can just change from high to low to control that fan speed if we wish. That fan will stay on the entire time when we have it in our fan mode. Our last mode is our dry mode. Our dry mode is like a dehumidifier. We can choose our set point, and it will cool our unit down to that set point, and it will continue to cool past that, but alternate every 6 to 10 minutes off and on. That way it doesn't drop that temperature too low and freeze you out of the unit, but it still dries the air in your unit. Another thing to note with our furnace is that the air is going to come out of the vents on the floor. It's not going to come out of the rooftop air. Your only rooftop air is going to be your fan and your cool and your dry. Your heat will come out of those floor vents from the furnace. This is your sealing assembly for that Furrion AC. Right here you're going to have that filter. We need to pull that down and clean that every so often so we're not restricting air to our AC. And here we have a dump valve. This is a quick dump. If we want to cool off this living room area per se very quickly, we go ahead and click that open and the air will only blow out of here. If we want it to run through our ceiling ducts right here, then this is going to need to be closed. Otherwise air is not going to circulate from the front to the back of your unit and out of those ceiling ducts. Below that we have our GFCI. Our GFCI is going to have 2 buttons on it. That's going to control all of our outlets and wet locations, our bathrooms, our kitchen, our outside outlets, all that stuff. Anytime we have an issue with those outlets, we want to come over here and see if this system needs to be reset. So we're going to test it by hitting that test button. We'll see a little red light on there, and that lets us know that system is tripped. So if it's tripped, we go over here, hit that reset button, and that light turns off, and it is reset, and the outlet should be working. If you're having trouble resetting it, it keeps tripping out, go unplug some of the appliances in those outlets. You may have too many plugged in, or some of those outlets may be wet, and go ahead and dry them out, blow them out, whatever, and then come back and try to reset that system again. All right, for our refrigerator, we have that 12-volt Furrion refrigerator. Here at the bottom, we have that dial that can go from off to on, cold to colder, and that off-grid option. That off-grid option is if you are boondocking, you're not plugged into shore power, go to off-grid, and it will reduce the power usage of this unit so it doesn't use as much 12 volts during that period. Now, in our freezer and fridge, we have to keep in mind there's no drain tubes on this unit. So we need to defrost this and get all the water out of there when we go to store our unit. Otherwise, the water can leak out and damage our wood components around it. Manufacturers aren't going to repair that kind of item. So make sure we're defrosting it properly, cleaning out our fridge, and it'll also help reduce the opportunity for mold and mildew. Down below our oven, we're going to see our control center for our 110 and 12 volts. See, everything's labeled so we know what breakers go to what. Of course, our 12-volt components labeled as well. We'll come here if we have issues with any of these items and check, make sure nothing's tripped and no fuses are blown. Just before we head into our bathroom, we'll see our CO-LP detector. This warns us of any cautious gases in our unit. We can see a little green light at the bottom that lets us know that it is powered up. It's a 12-volt operated device, and it also is going to have an expiration date stamped onto the front of it. Some of them you have to unscrew it and it will be stamped on the back. Just depends on the type of CO-LP detector on there, but it does have an expiration. Now, we need to test this once a month or every time we go camping to make sure that little chirper is working on there so it can identify when there is an issue. So check that, and also check your smoke detector. That's going to have a 9-volt battery in there, and test the chirper on it as well. All right, we're in our bathroom. We have our shower. We have an on-off switch on that shower head right there. That is used for whenever you are dry camping. If you are trying to conserve the amount of water we're putting in our gray tank or the amount of water we're using from our fresh tank because we don't have a city water connection or a drain port wherever we're at, It's just an easier way to turn that system off and on rather than fiddling with your knobs right here. You can just shut that off in between showering down and lathering up and all that stuff. If you want to use it, you can. Otherwise, you can just turn your faucets off and on there. If you have a city water connection and drain port, use it like you normally would at your home. Over here we have our Girard tankless water heater control. We'll go over the operation of that now. Here we have our Girard tankless water heater control. We have our Celsius Fahrenheit button right here at the top left to swap between the two types of temperature. We have our on off button, and we have our up and down that will change the temperature that we have set for our unit. Now once we initiate our hot water, you'll see a couple of things happen. You'll see our temperature up here change to our output temperature, which is the temperature of the water coming out of our tankless water heater system. We'll also see a shower head icon at the bottom right. That shows that water is in use. And then we'll see our fan icon on the bottom left, lets us know that our tankless water heater system is initiating. Once we see the flame that pops up in the middle of our unit, that means that our system is actually heating that water, and we'll see that temperature begin to increase. Now these systems only run for 20 minutes before going into a shutoff mode. In the event that you're still using hot water after that point, just turn the hot water off and turn it back on, and it will reinitiate and begin to heat water again. We also have a vent above our shower with a fan on it. It is suggested that we use that whenever we take a shower to help exhaust any steam and stuff in here and reduce opportunity for mold and mildew. In our bathroom, of course, we have our toilet. That's going to lead down to our black tank for all our sewage. We do number 1 and number 2 on the toilet, right? Liquids, solids. If we're doing liquids, we can just kick that pedal down right there, flush it down the drain, no problem. Doing solids, we want to go ahead and hold that pedal down just a little bit and fill this bowl either 1/2 to 3/4 of the way. That way we have enough water to flush those solids down the drain and it doesn't get clogged up in the system. Once again, only want to put those 2 things plus our RV toilet paper and our chemicals in our toilet, nothing else. It will run into issues as far as trying to drain out of those pipes. So make sure you're using that properly whenever using that septic system. You're also going to have a GFCI in the bathroom. It's going to operate just like that one we went over in the kitchen. All right, in our front bedroom, of course, we have storage under our bed. We have this vent right here. If yours didn't come equipped with that second AC, you are pre-wired. Those connections are going to be under that plate right there in the front of that vent. Over here we have another Key TV system, just like we have in our living room. Any other cable connections, once again, Key TV. We have that mounter for the TV system right there to set up for entertainment. Also in your bathroom, you're going to find our plate for our 4G and Wi-Fi gateway system. If you wanted to upgrade that system to that gateway system, it will work as a Wi-Fi booster and boost signal from the campground if they have Wi-Fi, or you can sign up to subscribe with them through an internet provider that will give you 4G LTE service wherever you are at, and it is available. All right, our dinette booth can fold down into a bed by folding this table down and putting it on the edge right there. It does have a little yellow latch down there at the bottom. We need to pull that little yellow latch, grab it at the ends, and just fold it in and to lay it down. And then to lift it back up, easiest thing to do is stand on the legs on each side, grab it, and then flip it back up.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us. And keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.